Hey, in this week's video, I want to look at my editing setup. And this is not my workflow. I'm going to do a whole video on workflow. If you have any specific workflow questions, do pop them in the comments below because it will help guide me as to what sort of information you might like. But this is more the hardware that I'm using and how it's set up. So I've recently changed a little bit. I was running off a laptop for years, and now I've moved to an actual physical computer in here. And it is the Mac M1 Mini, and I've been using it for a while, and I think I've used it enough to be able to say that it does the job. I can edit 4K B-raw footage from a Blackmagic in real time without proxy files with a color grade on it. And that for me is the limit of what I need in a computer. Everything else it does better than anything else I've had. And it was only £1,200 fully spec'd out, so pretty good. So that sits on my desk and it's plugged into two monitors. One is my editing monitor, and I'll put links to what these are down below, or at least the nearest thing to them if they don't make them anymore. And that is a BenQ monitor that I calibrate every time I have a big job on with a calibration device. The second monitor is a cheap BenQ monitor, which is like £300. And that predominantly has either a sort of, can't even think of the word for it now. Contact sheet, there we go. It has the contact sheet, or it has a selection that I need to make, or notes on editing, or it's just used to keep information on so I can keep the main screen in front of me set up for editing. And then BenQ kind of vomited upon my desk, and I have BenQ E-lamps and BenQ monitor lamps and all that sort of stuff. What I don't have on there are emails. There are no emails in my office. You cannot access an email in my office. It is very important that I cannot be distracted when working, so I don't have emails in here. They're on the two computers outside in the main studio, and even then I turn them off when I'm shooting. Anyway, that's the hardware there. Then I have a load of G drives, which is where I'm dumping my files. I work on the main file on my actual SSD inside my Mac M1, and then I copy the files to the G drive, and the G drive auto copies to my dump drive, which is a horrific name, and all of this goes to Backblaze, and then the shoot goes off-site in a tether drive as well back to my house. But yeah, that's the hardware there. I also have another small monitor, which I think you can see, not there, here. And this one here, this has all my CCTV cameras hooked up to it, so I can see what's going on at the loading bay, at the front door, in the studio, and various points around the building for when people are lost, or if a delivery's coming or if someone's at the door and I don't want to answer it because it's just someone asking for directions or salesman, I can just see them and go, not interested. So that's useful. I might do a video on security at some point. We have a very complex and multiple security system in here with multiple systems recording to multiple places and various things like that, and all the rest of that good stuff. Let me know if you'd like a video on that in the comments below. But yeah, so there we go. We've got the monitors, we've got them on some little risers, we've got the hard drives, and then I have my Scarlett interface, which is my audio interface, which goes into my computer, and then I have my microphone, which I use for my portfolio reviews, and that's always sort of set up here. I've then got my landline, which has a old-fashioned telephone, but it actually works like a modern telephone, and the little ring bit works as well, so that's quite cool if you need to get me on the bat phone. That's the studio number, which not many people have, so it's kind of a, when it rings, we answer. And then we have a more modern phone, which has a built-in voicemail as well for when it rings and we don't answer because I'm taking a nap with Moggy. Then I have my Kingston docking station that I've done a whole video on, which I'm still pretty happy with, especially docking the SSDs for projects and just dumping all the data from the Blackmagic cameras when we're doing the workshops. That's very useful. And yeah, it's a pretty good setup. We've got an Epson printer. I've got, your shredder, all your normal office stuff as well, which isn't really that sexy, but you do kind of need. Now, in terms of my editing, I use a Wacom tablet, and it is the Bluetooth one, and it works really well with the Mac M1, but the previous Mac I had to plug it in because it was always a bit jumpy and skippy. But at the moment, happy with that running wirelessly, and I use that with a Toolbox, which is kind of this little gadget that you can program each button to do a specific task. I don't use it in Premiere, but I do use it in Photoshop. It's got all my hotkeys, so I have one hand on that. I can zoom in and zoom out, choose the things without having to go from mouse to keyboard, which is what I used to have to do. For Adobe, for some reason, I use a mouse still for the Premiere Pro, and then for Lightroom, I use a trackpad. I have basically every possible accessory on my desk, and I use them all differently. But the loop deck is something I'm particularly trying to implement more because it's just a little bit more efficient and it puts a little bit less strain on your wrist when you're trying to reach keys on a keyboard, and you can just have it sat almost on a mouse but with all these little function keys. It takes a bit of getting used to, much like using a tablet for the first time, but definitely worth that time investment. Now, you might also notice these weird black dustbins, which people think are Mac Pros, but they're not. They are air purifiers. We have 3 in the office, plus a humidifier. It's very dusty in here. It's an old warehouse, so we just try and keep those running all the time just to sort of remove as much of the dust as possible. You'll then notice there's some foam behind my computer. There's now foam all around here, which is why if you go back to older videos, you'll notice the acoustics are much better now, which really helps me out. Yeah, the desk I'm using, it's just plywood with a stain on it. We couldn't find a desk in the right size for what we needed. So we just got some plywood, cut its size. I say we did, Drew did. And then, yeah, knocked together this Amazon chair, which cost me 200 quid and is absolutely horrific. And I get a lot of DMs going, what chair do you use? I use this one from Amazon. Don't get it. It's awful. I'm going to get a better one as soon as I work out how to work out what a better one is. Anyway, that's a quick rundown of my setup. If you want to know what my workflow is or you have any questions about workflow, let me know, because mine's quite messy and convoluted, but it does work and it works for me. And that maybe you can take something away from that. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I'll try and get links to everything in the description below. But there'll probably be UK links or US links. I'll just do one country, so you're going to have to fight amongst yourselves to find the specific one for your region. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.